guys, Julia here from JM Squared Vintage. Welcome back to the channel. I'm here today with a ship with me. These are all things that came through over the weekend. Kind of an average weekend of sales, but some really interesting pieces, some good solid sales that came through. Lots to talk about here. I hope everybody is in the swing of fall sales as we ramp up into holiday territory, but some really fast sellers here. So I can't wait to dig into like what those are and what made them special. But before we get started here, guys, if this is your first time here, if this is your first time stumbling on my channel, first and foremost, welcome. I'm Julia, that is my name. We talk all things thrifting and vintage and the business of reselling on the internet here. If that sounds like something that you might be into, consider hitting subscribe down below. I would love to have you along on this journey. But without further ado, guys, it's late in the afternoon. I gotta get these things packed up and off to the post office. So why don't you go grab yourself a snack, grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax, and let's get into the shipment. So the first piece we have here is this gorgeous little slip dress. This is from 12th Street from Cynthia Vincent. And this is a designer that is pretty high end. This is the label. The label itself is really unusual, so it should be fairly easy to kind of catch. I've had quite a few things sell very well from her. This is just a little like polyester satin dress. So it's not anything like super special, but she does a lot of like beautiful cotton stuff. I've had a few beautiful silk pieces from her that have sold very well and quite quickly. This was an extra small, so like even the most desirable things in a size extra small are gonna sell a little bit slower, but do keep your eyes out for it. Again, it's one of those labels that's just kind of an unusual cut of a label. So even if you weren't familiar with the brand, the fact that the label itself was so unusual is something that it should trip off your spidey senses in terms of this is probably something I should take a look at. I always say if you see an unusual custom looking label, you should pay attention. But this is just a lovely little column slip dress, very cute, very basic, very minimalist, but in a beautiful color. So I've had this listed for about 4 months, and that's pretty long for 12th Street. But again, you know, with that size extra small factor in play there, I'm not super surprised. I did have quite a bit of interest in this though. I had it listed for $36 and I got an offer for $30 over on Depop, which I did accept. And with a $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $26.28. And again, a sale over on Depop. So I hope she loves it. It is a beautiful little dress, just easy breezy, like throw on and go for any event. Next up, now this is one that I picked up at a little thrift store that I happened upon a few weeks back, and I actually found 2 Denim & Supply shirts. This is from Denim & Supply by Ralph Lauren. And this is like a defunct brand from Ralph Lauren, and it's got a bit of a cult following. I will say that the men's stuff sells even better than the women's stuff, but for me, the women's stuff sells quite well as well. The funny thing though is like when I think about what the men's stuff looks like, because their men's stuff tends to have a little bit of like a vintage moto feel to it. The women's stuff tends to be very boho, which like in my head doesn't really jive, but whatever, you know, like I found quite a few pieces for men, you know, different jeans, different t-shirts, these kind of shirts, and they always sell quite well. This one is Western style, so it had that aspect going for it with pearl snaps. So this had just everything going for it that you could possibly ask for in a Denim & Supply shirt. So I'm super happy to have found it. These are the kind of things that like, they're very classic styles. These are the kind of things that people will literally wear until they fall apart. And it's Ralph Lauren, so it will take a while for them to fall apart because even the lower end stuff from Ralph Lauren tends to be really well made. And it's funny, if you look at where Denim & Supply is in the grand scheme of like the Ralph Lauren brands, it was probably like on par with Lauren, maybe a little bit higher than Lauren. But I think that like Polo was higher regarded like when it was in production. Not that there's, I mean, not that that's not saying anything, like Polo stuff is beautifully made. But either way, keep your eyes out for it. I know a bunch of you have said that you struggle to sell Denim & Supply. That is just not my experience. I've had very few pieces from Denim & Supply sit for longer than a month or 2. So I had this listed for $54 and I had it listed for only 5 days and it popped through as a full price sale. So always excited when that happened. This had an $8 cost at that thrift location that I went to. So with that all factored in, this brought me to a profit of $35.20. And this was a sale over on Poshmark. So I hope he loves it. Again, this is the kind of thing that like you just can't find anymore because it's been out of production for years at this point. So I always say, like, as a reseller, when you have something like that go down with a brand, immediately, if there are devout like buyers of that brand, that price is going to go up on the resale market just because there's a finite supply, and every day that one piece gets ripped, that's one less that will ever exist on this planet. Next up, now this is something that everybody should pick up if you see it. This is a vintage kimono. It's silk. This is a haori. I don't know if I'm saying that right. H-A-O-R-I, I believe. A haori style kimono, which is a shorter kimono. And a lot of people, and this is definitely a traditional kimono, right? Like, it's got the half lining, it's got the hand stitching, it's got the little tie here to bring it together. And these can be quite expensive. I'm gonna guess that this one is probably from the 70s, just going by the weave on this. But kimonos can go to the moon in price. So if you see one for a reasonable price, and I'm gonna guess that most thrift stores are not gonna mark stuff like this up. I don't know how many kimonos you're gonna find in thrift stores. We've got a very big Japanese population in Southern California, so it's not the most unusual thing to find here, but I don't know where else there's big Japanese populations, and I would imagine that finds like this would center mostly around those areas. But let me know if you've ever found one, either a short one or a long one with the very long sleeves or short sleeves. And the sleeves are like communication tools, right? I believe it's the furisode. I'm sure I'm butchering that word. The furisode are the kimonos that have the really long sleeves that go to the floor, and that signifies an unmarried woman. I think that's what it is. Don't quote me on that if there's anybody out there that has a little bit more of a grasp on the specs of a kimono. Let us know down below. But either way, I'm excited to find stuff like this anytime I can get my hands on it. And the silk alone, you know? And also, this is the shorter kimonos, these haori kimonos, are not just worn traditionally. I think traditionally they are men's kimonos, but I see a lot of women wearing them as like overshirts. And it's gorgeous, it's a beautiful look. In fact, if memory serves me right, when I picked this up, I was hoping that it would fit me so I could wear it like that. Alas, it was too small. Again, this was a smaller size, so that's probably why it took the amount of time that it took to sell it. These typically sell fairly well when I can get my hands on them, but it tends to be larger sizes. Like, this is the smallest one I've ever found. So anyway, I had this listed for $68, and I had it listed for about 7 months, and I got an offer for $48, which I did accept, and with a $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $36.40. And this, of course, was a sale over on Poshmark. So keep your eyes out for kimonos, guys. Let me know if you've ever found one, and like, let me know where you are if you have found one. Because again, it's not necessarily a surprising thing to find here because we have such a huge Japanese population, but I'm interested to see if anybody's ever found one in like New Jersey or Ohio or Texas. So let me know. I'm always curious about that kind of stuff. Next up, this is like the most darling little sweater. So this is from Sparrow, and Sparrow is an Anthropologie brand. I don't know if they're still around, but it is one of the brands from Anthro that I love to keep my eyes out for. They made a lot of really cute, like ornate cardigans. Think like Gilmore Girls era. It always goes back to Gilmore Girls with me. If you're new here, like we love the Gilmore Girls. Like that is my flavor. But a lot of those, you know, a lot of the Sparrow pieces that I found have that kind of flavor, and they always sell really, really well. This one just gives me 2010s tweed. This looks like it could have been taken right off of Zooey Deschanel's back, especially with the red. It's a little bit of a retro style to it. Very, very cute. And it's like a sweater coat, right? So it's just a sweater, you know, like it's knit like a sweater, but the style on it feels a little bit more outerwear focused. And this is one of the labels you're keeping your eyes out for. So definitely, especially if you're finding it in the bins, pick it up if you see it. I will say a lot of their stuff is made from wool, so definitely double check for damage and moth holes and stuff like that. But if you can find one in great condition, especially at the bins, it's a slam dunk. And make sure you're keywording it accordingly, right? Like if you're finding something that's a cute little floral cardigan, make sure you're listing, you know, your Y2K, your Gilmore Girls, your Zooey Deschanel, your tweed, all of those kind of keywords. Better you can keyword your listings, the more eyeballs are going to find them. And I mean, it's simply just a numbers game, right? It's simply just a numbers game. The more you can accurately keyword your pieces, the more eyeballs will find them, the more potential buyers you have, right? So take the time and actually write out your listings, make sure you're keywording. I still am like mind boggled when I see all of these listings that have like a one line, you know, light blue sweatshirt with heart. Meanwhile, it's Aviator Nation. It's something that's got 87 different things that I could have keyworded it for. You know, gotta put in that little bit of effort. So I had this one listed for $36 and I had it listed for about a month and a half. And I actually had quite a bit of interest in it in that time. Not surprised. And also not surprised it's selling right now as we are sliding right into the fall season. This is a good transitional piece. So I got an offer for $30.60. And with the $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $24.14. And this was a sale over on eBay. So I hope she loves it. This sweater is just adorable. As a matter of fact, I think that this is actually going to Australia. So just a perfect little like light sweater jacket situation. Love it. All right, next up, this is another one that flew out of my closet. This is a terry cloth polo from a brand called Cricket. And this is absolutely a brand you should be keeping your eyes out for. I've had a few of their polos. They're a smaller brand, but they must have a really kind of devout following. And every time I've ever had a Cricket polo, it has sold very, very well, very quickly. Now this is the first terry cloth one that I found, which I was really excited to find because men's resort wear sells so well for me. This is one of those things where I just don't think that there's a lot of it out there, and you know, because it tends to be on the more expensive side and it tends to be something that they're not gonna wear a ton. That's something that a lot of women have a lot of. Like we've got a lot of 1 or 2 time use dresses in our closet. That's just kind of part of shopping for us. But for men, a lot of the stuff that they get, you know, they have super casual clothes, dressy clothes, and like that's it. Something like a resort wear piece is gonna be very, very low use for them, you know, unless they live at the beach or, you know, and I just don't think that they like to spend big dollars on it. It's one of my fastest selling like menswear categories. So keep your eyes out for it, and Cricket, of course, is a great brand to find. I wanna say that this retailed like 110 or so, but either way, I had this listed for just under 1 week, and I had it listed at $42 and I got an offer for $37. And with the $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $26.82, and this was a sale over on eBay. So I hope he loves it. I mean, this is one of those things that I just knew was gonna be a very, very quick sale. Anytime I find like a terry cloth top or like an open mesh top for men, I'm all over it. So hope he loves it. Next up, this is a brand that you should definitely be keeping your eyes out for. Now, this is a really insignificant piece from them, but this is a brand called Cut Loose. And I've had quite a few pieces from Cut Loose, and they always sell really well. I want to say that they're based up in the Bay Area. They tend to be very casual, lots of linen, a little bit on like the log and look side. But every piece I've ever had from them, I just like, as I was prepping for this video, I kind of took a look at the last couple years worth of data. I haven't found much Cut Loose in the past few months or so, but I did have a string of finding it about a year ago. I found a ton, like week after week after week. Now, maybe it was coming from a boutique that was closing down, or it was coming from 1 or 2 different closets that were in the process of cleaning out. But I haven't found it much recently, but every single piece that I've ever had from them has sold within like a month. And for decent prices. Again, this is probably the least significant piece that I've ever had. I've had 1 or 2 of this exact t-shirt, similar results from it. But if you do see it, keep your eyes out for it. And if you source it at the right price, pick it up. I would say comfortably pay, you know, $3, $4, $5 for pretty much anything that you find. Maybe not a t-shirt like this, because you're gonna get about 15 bucks. Any more significant pieces, comfortably pay up for it. I've had great results with it. So I had this listed for about 3 weeks, and I had it listed for $22, and I got an offer for $15, which I did accept. It's about what I expected for this. With a $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $10.90, and this was a sale over on eBay. So I hope she loves it. Again, I did not expect to get a ton of money for this. It was just a t-shirt, but anytime I see that label, especially if I'm at the bins, I'm picking it up. Every time. Next up, this was an interesting one. This is from COS, and this is like a long blazer. It's this like dark blue. And the shame of it is this one had a little bit of a flaw on the back, but it was like otherwise so nice. There's like a little bit of a lightened spot on the back. It looks almost like where like a bag would have hit it. So maybe there was some kind of color transfer situation that happened, but it's not super visible. You know, especially if you're wearing this at night, like nobody would see it. So I put it up at like a lowered price. Like this, if this was in flawless condition, I probably would have listed this for like 60 or 70 bucks. Because cost is very expensive. It's got a cult following, myself included, and more significant pieces can go for a pretty dang good price. And I kind of toyed with it. I'm like, do I donate it back because it has that flaw, or do I disclose it and just list it? So I'm like, you know what, I'll give it a try, you know. I'll list it for, you know, the 60 days, see if it moves. I'll try it for 2 or 3 months, and if it doesn't move, you know, I'll move it back on, because it is kind of on the bulkier side. And here we are. So I'm happy I did end up listing it. So I had it listed for about 2 months, and I'll tell you, I had a lot of interest on it in that amount of time. And I had it listed for $36. Again, if this was in like flawless condition, it probably would have been more towards the 60s or 70s, but it popped through as a full price sale. So with a $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $28.44. And again, this is a sale over on eBay. So I hope they love it. It is such a cool piece, very minimalist, very like Berlin, perfect transitional piece. And who knows, this might even be going to be part of like a Halloween costume, just given the time of year. So either way, I'm happy that I did end up listing it and didn't send that back into the waste stream, because, you know, cost is really expensive stuff and it wasn't a super noticeable flaw. So here we are. Next up, we've got this cute little tank top. This is from Athleta. This is called the Calm Cool tank top. And I think that this was part of a pajama set. It's 100% Cupro, and it just has that beautiful drape to it. And Athleta, you know, I talk about this a lot. It is a brand that I, you know, very, very selective with what I'm picking up these days. But something like this, like a basic little black tank top that can be either a pajama or, you know, something you wear out and about. This has legs. This has a little bit more of a base of use than most pieces. It's definitely not an athletic piece. And I always say, like with Athleta, I think that their best-selling pieces are their kind of streetwear pieces, not necessarily their athletic pieces, at least right now. It wasn't the case a couple of years ago, but it is right now. And they have really good stuff. So like if you are somebody who works in an office, they always have like a really nice white button-down shirt, but it's made of like a tech fabric. So it breathes and it's stretchy, and so it gives you that like professional look while having a little bit of like athletic tech to make it a bit more comfortable. But either way, I had this listed at $26. I had it listed for about 8 months. I did have a ton of interest in it, but for one reason or another, it just did not pop off, and it did end up popping through as a full price sale. I want to say that these were like $50. They were quite expensive. So with the $2 cost at the bins, this brought me to a profit of $18.74, and this was another sale over on eBay. Poshmark was very, very slow this weekend. Last weekend, it was popping. It was like going crazy. This weekend, very slow. I'll tell you, reselling is not for the faint of heart. So I hope she loves it. Again, a perfect little like breezy, silky black camisole with adjustable straps. Love that. Next up here, we've got this gorgeous little linen shirt. This is kind of like a tunic. This is from Edward Irish Linen, and I've sold quite a few pieces of Edward. This is one that we found at the bins back in New Jersey. This is the label you're looking for. I mean, Irish linen in general is like an always buy. And this has the most beautiful embroidery and beading work on the front. It's just so lovely. It's a pretty like shell pink color. It's a size 2X, so it's got a lot going for it. I found this one, and I found another one that was green that already sold super, super quickly. But you know me, I will pick up linen any time of year. It will sell for me any time of year. If you're getting it at the right price, I recommend you do the same. I mean, especially when you can get your hands on Irish linen. It just has such a distinct feel to it. I don't even need to see the label. I know what I'm holding when I find Irish linen. But either way, I had this listed for about a month and a half, and I had it listed at $32, and I got an offer for $25, which is about what I expect to get for something like this. And I did accept that, and with a roughly $1 cost at the East Coast bins, this brought me to a profit of $20.85, and this was a sale over on eBay. So I hope she loves it. Again, these are the kind of things that I will pick up anytime I see them. They exist outside of trend. They're forever stylish, casual, and there's just always a market for stuff like this. And finally, now this is one that I knew was gonna go super, super quickly. This is obviously 100% silk. This is from a brand called Dancing Peacock. This is Y2K vintage for sure. A pretty rolled hem to give it a little bit of that wave. It looks very organic. This had the double dip of being like Y2K vintage. You could also say, you know, like fairy core. It has a lot of those kind of core aesthetic keywords that you can use for it. But this just had the magic combination of 100% silk, bias cut, asymmetrical. This looks Y2K vintage. This is something that we would have worn over our like low-rise flare jeans out to the club. But I wish I knew more about this brand because it feels really nice. And again, it's silk. So it clearly wasn't something that was super inexpensive, although there were a lot more like silk pieces at like Express back in the day. I feel like you're not seeing much actual silk in kind of mass market mall stores anymore. I think it was a lot more common back in the day. But either way, when I found this, I knew that this was just gonna fly, and it did fly, and I had so much interest on it in the interim. So I had it listed for $50 for just 4 days. And I got an offer for $40, which I did accept. And with a $2 cost of the bins, this brought me to a profit of $35.87, and this was a sale over on Depop. Kind of anticipated this selling over on Depop. That's where the bulk of my like Y2K stuff does sell. But either way, so happy to have found that, so happy to have grabbed that out of the waste stream, and so happy to be getting that back into somebody's hands and getting a little bit more use. But that is it, guys. That is the shipment for today. Thank you so much for hanging with me while I literally get my work done. I always appreciate having somebody to yak with while I get this stuff done. I hope we are all in the upswing, coming out of the summer slump, getting back into the fall sales season, getting into the holiday season. Make sure you are getting your stuff together. Make sure you're getting yourself organized for the crazy selling season. But guys, if you had fun, please consider leaving a like or a comment on this video. Of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. I would love to have you along on this journey. But without further ado, guys, it is late in the afternoon. I gotta get this stuff packed up and off to the post office. So I hope you all have the most beautiful weekend. Happy hunting, and I will see you all in the next one.